Kakadosh Boker Or, Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf 4A1. Says the Gemara. The Gemara is now going to explain the machlok between Rabbanan and Rabbi. That they say that it's going to be enough with 3 dayanim. Okay? So, one more time. Rabbi just said that you needed 5 dayanim. Why did you need 5 dayanim? Elohim. Really, we just explained like the doctor asked. It's not really the Elohim, but it's Yarshi'un Elohim. It's going to be plural. And therefore, since it's going to be plural, we're talking about 2 dayanim. And therefore, it says above Elohim. And it says below Elohim, so that's going to be 4. Remember that the first one you can never actually use, right? Because that's what you need it for. And then what happens is that since we just said that you needed 4, but you can't have bedin shakul, so you needed 5. That is the shita of Rabbi. The rabbis argued, and the rabbis say, "Rabbanan yarshi'un ketiv." The word yarshi'un is lacking a vav, meaning though even though we say the word yarshi'un in the Torah, it's lacking a vav. So since the Torah is lacking a vav, so it's ki'ilu, it's only written 1 dayan, single. So each one of the Elohim is really be'emet 1 dayan. Now it makes sense what the doctor said. Elohim is 1 God. You're right. It's 1. So too here it's 1 dayan. So therefore you have 1 against 1, and you cannot have a bedin shakul. So now you have 3. Now it makes sense. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef, the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz. The ikar is the way that you read it, and therefore that's how you make the dirasha, which means even though you're right in the Torah, it's written without a vav, but how do you pronounce it? You pronounce Yarshiun with a vav. So therefore, yesh em la mikra. Mikra is the way that you're koreh, the way that you're reading it. Rebbe was the way that we just said it right now, because since Rebbe does not learn this that it's singular. Right? He doesn't care that it's written in the Torah without a vav. How do you read it? You read it with a vav. So if you read it with a vav, so therefore that includes it. So therefore it's double, right? You got double, and therefore you have 2 and 2, and then you need not the bedin shakul. So you have 5. You have 4, and then you have the extra 1. So this is the first one, Rabbi Ad Amran that we just mentioned right now. Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz. How do we know that he holds that we go according to the way that you read, another way that it's written in the Torah? He says the time we learned in a Braita. Shalu Talmidim et Yehuda ben Roetz. The Talmidim came and they asked Yehuda ben Roetz, Ekra ani shivim. Right? When we're going to come and we're going to say that she's going to be Tamiyah shivim yom. Right? Why? Because it's written Shivu'ain with 2 yods after the chirik. So Yachol Te'eh Yoledet Nekeva Tamiyah shivim. Are you really going to think that really Be'emet Yoledet Nekeva is going to be Tamiyah 70 days? Yeah? No. Yeah, one more time. Yeah, one more time. When a boy is born, what is the tumah? Boy. When a boy is born, what is tumah and what is tada? No. Aywa. 33 זה ימי טהרה, לא ימי טומאה. 7 days, חזק וברוך. 7 days for a boy, 33, right, of tahara for the boy afterwards. So you have 7 tum'ah, 33 of tahara. How much for a girl? 14, right? 14. So now, but how do you say, instead of saying 7 days, right, Shiva Yamim, how does it say? Shivuaim. However, though, the way that it's written in the Torah, Shivuaim, because that is Shivuaim. But when it says Shivuaim means 2 weeks. Dusama. Yeah? So now when it says over here, Shivuaim, 2 weeks, if you come and you could read it, Shivim. So maybe a girl, the Tum'ah is 70 days. Because the way that it's written in the Torah, you could actually come and read it. V'tameh Shivim yom. Instead of Shivuaim. So Amar Lahen, he comes and he says, Timeh v'tiher bazachar, v'timeh v'tiher banekeva. He comes and he says this. He says, 1 second. The Torah came and gave us Yemet Tum'ah and Yemet Tohar. Also by the Zachar and also by the Nekeva. Ma keshetiher bazachar, banekeva kiflaim, av keshetimeh bazachar, banekeva kiflaim. לאחר שיצאו, יצא ומחזיר אחריהם ואמר להן, אי אתם זקוקים לכך. שבועיים קרינן, יש אם למקרא. Something incredible. Listen to this one more time. What happened exactly? What happened was that you have all the students. They're sitting down on the table, and all the students are there, and they ask the Rebbe, when a woman comes and she gives birth to a woman, what's the tumah? The tumah should be 70 days. Because you don't have nekudot. So you come and it says, shivim. So she's going to be 70 days tameh. So he comes and he said, we don't need that. He says, you know why? Logic, pure logic. What was it by a boy? 7. So what was it? 2 weeks. But even forget about the 7 and 2 weeks, because I'm trying to argue in those 2 weeks. When it was mitaher, what was the metahara? 33, they said. What's the metahara for a 33? What's the metahara for a girl? 66. Double. Just like the tahara is double 33 to 66, no, so too the tum'ah is going to be double 7 to 14. No. So what happens? Right? So now what happens? So now says the Gemara, fine, 1 second. So now he comes and he says like this. He says, right? Therefore, it's shvuayim. It's 2 weeks. And that's it. Everyone, they left class. They went outside for recess. He calls them all back in. He tells them, by the way, what I told you, I don't even need it. I don't need it. You know why I don't need it? He says very simple. You don't need this drasha about double or not double. You know why? Shivwaim karina. You go according to the way that you read, not according to the way it's written. You're right. It's written, right? Shivim. Yeah, because that's what it was, right? Because it's without the vav, right? Since it's written without the vav, that's why I could read it shivim. It's got 2 yods, fine, 2 yods. But many times you have mitzrim, right? Or mitzrim, and sometimes you have the 2 yods at the end. It's no big deal, right? But he says, but 1 second, how do you read it? You read it shivwaim. So since you read it shivwaim, yesh em lamikra. So this is a proof that Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz holds also the same thing, yesh em lamikra, meaning I don't care the way that it's written in the Torah. I go according to the way that what? That it is going to be read. How do you read it? Shvuayim. So shvuayim, that's it. I'm not going to come and start thinking about shivim or anything else. No, how do you read it? You read shvuayim. Shvuayim. I don't care that it's without a vav and it's written without a vav. That's the way that I'm going. Okay, so that was going to be the second one. So now you had Rabbi and you have Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz. Okay, 2 different cases. Okay, fine. Yeah. Bet Shammai. Remember we had Rabbi, which we already learned. Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz. Now we have Bet Shammai. Then we're going to have Rabbi Shimon and then Rabbi Kiva. So Bet Shammai Omrim. Right, the Tram we learned in the Mishnah. Bet Shammai Omrim. Bet Shammai says, "Kol anitanina mizbeach hachitzon." All the korbanot, which you have to come and you have to sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach hachitzon. Right? How do you do it on the mizbeach hachitzon? Shte matanot shehen arba. 2 matanot which are arba. What does that mean? What's the pshat? So Bet Shammai comes and he says that we're talking about kol anitanim al mizbeach hachitzon. Right? All of these that they have to be shte matanot shenaba shenatanan b'matana achat, that you only did 1 of them, 1 sprinkling. Kiper, it's going to be good b'diavad. Yeah, because it says, right, v'dam zevachecha yishafech. Yeah, what are we talking about? He comes and he says, uvechatat, and we're talking about the chatat, shte matanot, that it's going to be 2 matanot. Uvetilel omnim, betilel come and they say, af bechatat shenetanan, also in the chatat, they did it with matana achat, kiper. It's going to be okay. So therefore, we're talking about right now, because remember, the chatat, you needed 4 matanot. So here, if you did 2, you're still going to be okay. Okay, so one more time. When you needed to do 2 and you only did 1, but the avad, it's going to be okay. And when you needed to do 4 and you only did 2, it's going to be okay. But Hillel comes and they say, af bechatat, that you did 1, you're also going to be okay. The Amar Ravuna says Ravuna, my ta'amad de Bet Shammai. What's the reasoning of Bet Shammai? Karnot. To do with the matanot adam of the chatat, it's written karnot. Okay, now karnot is written 3 times. So since karnot is in plural, because it doesn't say keren, it says keren, which is, it's karnot. So therefore you have to learn that each one is shte matanot. Harekan shesh, so it becomes 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Right? Arba is the mitzvah. 4 is the mitzvah, meaning there's a mitzvah to do 4 keranot. So he says, however, the 2 are me'akev. Meaning, there's only 4 sides to the mizbeach, so there's no 6, right? But if it's written that way, so then what's the pshat? So the pshat is 4 is a mitzvah. Lecha tequila for matanot on the chatat. However, though, 2 impedes. 2 is the me'akev. Bet Hillel says karnot, that if you only did 2, that's going to be okay, but you have to do minimum 2. Okay, that means impedes. Yeah, says the Gemara. Karnot, karnot, karnot. Bet Hillel says karnot, karnot, karnot. Hare kan arba. He says why? He says very, very simple. He says the first one, karnot, is with a vav. Pay attention. Look inside the Gemara. Bet Hillel omrim. Karnot is with a vav. So that, how much is that? That is be'emet 2. But the second 2 karnot is without a vav. And singular. So it comes out, you have 2 and then 1. So therefore, shalosh is for a mitzvah, and one of them is me'akev. Yeah? So why? Because here you don't have 6, you never had 6. You only had 4. Karnot, one of them is with a vav, right? Which is stein, right? One second. So therefore, one more time you have karnot with a vav, and then you have another 1. So therefore, obviously he's saying that 3 are for a mitzvah, and 1 is me'akev. So ask the Gemara, so why don't I just say all of them for mitzvah then? At the end of the day, what did I do here? According to Bet Shammai, it makes sense because each karnot is a different word. So therefore you have karnot, karnot, karnot. The first 2 karnot, which is 2 and 4, is a mitzvah. The last 2 karnot, which is 2, is going to be liikuva, me'akev. According to Bet Hillel, look how it sounds. You have karnot with a vav, which is 2. But even according to Bet Hillel, it's not 2. But then you have another 2 karnot, 1 and 1. Now, so therefore I put them all together, and I say 1 second, how much do I need? Now, if I'm going in logic, why do I say that 3 is kilu the mitzvah, and 1 is to be me'akev? I would say all 4, there are 4 corners, so all 4, this 1 is going with the 2. Maybe this 1 and this 1 is also going with the 2. Everything's together, right? It's all on the same plate. So therefore, he says, Veima kulu mitzvah. The entire thing should be a mitzvah. So answers the Gemara, Kapara bichti lo ashkechan. We never found the korban that's going to be mechaper without anything. Which means that at the end of the day, there has to be an obligation. It cannot be that just stam le mitzvah and nothing is me'akev. Something has to impede. Something has to be me'akev. Because if you say that they're all 4 together, so all 4 is for a mitzvah. Meaning, lichatchila, you do all 4. The diavad, let's say I didn't do anything, you're okay. Because I didn't have nothing impeding. Everything, all 4 was in the same pot. And all the same pot was for a mitzvah. So I have nothing impeding, it's impossible. So he says, I needed to have at least 1, because here, since you split it up, so you have 1 separately. So therefore, you have at least 1 that has to be impeding. So therefore, that's why Bet Hillel said that you learn it, you have to split it up. 3 for a mitzvah, 1 is impeding. Right? Rabbi Shimon, so now one more time. This one is proving to you that Bet Shammai is learning the way that you read it, not the way that it's written. Because here, Bet Hillel was the one that said that it's written with a vav or without a vav. According to Bet Shammai, you read it, karnot. What do I care if it has a vav or not? So this is a proof that Bet Shammai also holds, yesh em lamikra. Then last one, there's a Rabbi Shimon, then also Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Shimon also holds the same thing. The time is we learned in a Braita. Shnaim kil chatan. 2 according to the halacha. Ushlishit afilu tefach. The third one is even going to be a tefach. Rabbi Shimon says, Shalosh kil chatan urvit afilu tefach. The fourth one is going to be a tefach. Meaning, here we have a machloket to do with the sukkah. What is the sukkah kshira? Do you say that it's going to be 2 walls according to the halacha, and the third one even a tefach, right? Or you're going to say that it's 3 walls, and the 4th wall even a tefach. What is the machlok between the Rabbanan? Rabbanan hold Yeshem al-Masoret, that it goes according to the way that it's written. Rabbi Shimon Yeshem al-Nika. Rabbi Shimon holds that it's the way that you read it. Why? Rabbanan Yeshem al-Masoret. According to Rabbanan, we go according to the way that it's written. Basukot. Right? It's written Basukot Chaser Vav. Basukot Chaser Vav. The last one, it's written Basukot with a Vav. So therefore, Sukkot without a Vav, 1. Sukkot without a Vav, 1. Sukkot with a Vav is 2. So therefore, it's 4. Dal chad kra legufe, but you need one for itself. Remember, you always need one for the sukkot in itself. Pashut tlat, so you have three. So the hilchata, right, which is halacha Moshe Sinai, is going to come and going to tell you that you take the third wall and you just make it smaller, and therefore they made it into a tefach. So that is the shita of the rabbis, the Rabbanan, which is the rabbis, right? That they come and they say, Yesh em masoret. Everyone understood one more time. The way that it's written in the Torah, not the way that it's read. Because you're reading Sukkot, all three of them, right? Sukkot is the way it's written in the Torah. It's written in the Torah, singular, singular, plural. That's 4. However, though, you need one for itself. Remember when we said also Elokim, you needed one for itself. One for itself means you need to know that you have to sit in a sukkah. So therefore, you don't only have 4, you have 3. Now you have Halacha Moshe Sinai. Halacha Moshe Sinai tells you that you don't really need a full wall, you need a tefach. So therefore, if I only have 3 walls and I just told you that you only need a tefach for one of the walls, so it becomes 2 walls, and the third one could be a tefach. Rabbi Shimon Savar, Rabbi Shimon holds no. Basukot is 6. Because again, I go according to the way you read. You're reading it with a vav or without a vav, the same thing. You're still reading it Sukkot, plural. So therefore, if you're reading it Sukkot, plural, so it's 2, 4, 6. If you're going to take one away because you needed it for itself, so therefore, what's going to happen? So now you only have left with 4. Because one of those Sukkots, right, I just took it away because I needed it for itself. So now you only have 4. So if you have 4, the Hechal Moshe Sinai is going to put that 4th wall into a tefach. So you need 3 walls and 1 tefach. This is a proof that Rabbi Shimon holds Yeshem Lamikra. The last one is going to be Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says the time was we learned to the brighter. Rabbi Akiva says, how do you know that if you have a revi'it of dam that comes out from 2 different deceased bodies, that it's going to be mitameh be'ohel? We know that in order to be mitameh be'ohel, you need a revi'it of dam. All right, a quarter of a log of dam. Remember, a revi'it is either going to be 86 cc, 86 milliliters, or 150 milliliters, whether it's going according to the Chazon Ish or the Grach Naeh. Now he comes and he says like this. He says, how do we know that when you have a revi'it of dam which is coming from 2 different deceased, that it's going to be mitameh be'ohel? Shneimar b'says pasuk al kol nafshot met lo yavo. What does that mean? Al kol nafshot. Nafshot is plural. Okay, met is singular. Al kol nafshot met. Met is one deceased. It doesn't say metim. It says met. Now, but nafshot is plural. So he says, what does that mean? It's mashma that you have 2 nefashot and 1 shiur. Meaning when you have 2 different people that they passed away, and you have 1 shiur of the revit of the dam, that's enough to be metameh ba'ohel. Because that's what the pasuk is talking about over there. Right? We're talking about tumat ohel. Okay, there it's talking about the Kohen Gadol. Al kol nafshot met lo yavo. He's not allowed to come and be metameh to anybody. Okay? So therefore, v'rabbanan, and according to the rabbis, nafshot ktiv, the nafshot is written without the vav. So therefore, since the nafshot is lashon yachid, so according to the rabbis, the dam is not metameh unless you have a shiur of revi'it for each person which was deceased. That means you need 2 revi'its, right? Or 1 person that is one revi'it by itself. And therefore, obviously, again, this is a machloka between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan. Rabbanan hold Yeshem Masoret, and Rabbi Akiva holds Yeshem Lamikra. Okay, fine. Right? Afterwards. Says the Gemara. Okay, Mat Kifla, Ravacha Bar Yaakov. Right? We have a machlok, we have a question from Ravacha Bar Yaakov. Ravacha Bar Yaakov comes and he asks the following question. Mi'ika deletle Yeshem Lamikra. He says, what? Are you going to tell me that somebody actually holds that there's no such thing as Yeshem Lamikra? He says, obviously, right, you have to hold that. By the time we learned in the Braita, B'chalev imo. It says, Lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo. Yachol b'chalev imo. I would have thought to say, what is b'chalev imo? I would have thought, maybe it's not b'chalev, maybe it's chalev. Remember, there's no nekudot. And maybe the word b'chalev is not chalav, it's chalev. So therefore, dafka the chalev is a sur to cook with meat, but not milk. Meaning, whoever told you you're not allowed to cook meat and milk? You're allowed to cook meat and milk because there it says lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo, with the fats of the mother, the prohibited fats. That's chalev, right? So says the Gemara Daf Amud Bet, Amarta Yeshem Lamikra. Obviously, it's how do you read it, and you don't read it b'chalev, you read it b'chalav, right? So he says, so therefore, obviously, that's what everyone holds in. So everyone holds Yeshem Lamikra, even according to the other shitot, they have to hold Yeshem Lamikra. So he says, right? You don't say b'chalev, you say b'chalav, right? Lo tevashel gedi b'chalev imo. Chalev is chalav, ze lo chalev imo. That's exactly what he's saying. No, it's not the same name. Chalev. Vadai, chalev and chalav ze ototiyot. Ela, but rather, dechule alma, but rather, when we're talking about Yeshem Lamikra, we're talking about be'emet Yeshem Lamikra. Ve'Rebbi v'Rabbanan be'akam ipageh. Really, be'emet, we hold that Yeshem Lamikra. And Rebbe and Rabbanan, they're going to come and they're going to argue as follows. Rabbi Savar, Rabbi holds Yarshiun Elohim Acharine. Right? When we come and we're going to write at the end of the pasuk Yarshiun Elohim, we're talking about Dayanim, right? We're talking about the Dayanim, right? Which are other Dayanim. Okay? V'Rabbanan Savre, the rabbis hold Yarshiun dehaich v'hai. Yarshiun is Lashon Rabim. And therefore it's talking about the two Dayanim that we're learning from Elohim. Okay? And therefore Dayan Echad you learn from Elohim at the beginning of the pasuk, and Dayan Sheni you learn from Elohim at the end of the pasuk. And on the two Dayanim it says Yarshiun. So therefore, it comes out from the two Elohims, we're not learning only two Dayanim, right? And therefore, we have to learn another Dayan only because that it shouldn't be a Bedin Shakul, but not because of another reason. Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz lo plige Rabbanan ale. And to do with Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz, that he wanted to learn that Nekeva is going to be Temeah Shivwaim because of the Shivwaim and not Shivim, he says he's not arguing. The rabbis don't argue on him because everybody agrees that it's true, that it's only going to be Shivwaim and not Shivim Yom. Everybody agrees with that. Bet Hillel, the Tanya v'chiper v'chiper v'chiper. He says Bet Hillel also, they're going to learn that it's from another pasuk. It says v'chiper 3 times. So one time is for the Sa'id and Nasi, another time is for Kivsa Shel Yachid, and the third time is going to be Sirat Izima v'Yachid. So it tells you Mipnei Adin, because of these Rashot that they're coming, that we're going to learn, so therefore they learn that it's going to be 3 different times, and one of them is going to be left over. Balodin, when it's going to be a Kal V'chomer. Ne'emar damim lemata v'ne'emar damim lemata. It says damim abav and it says damim balo. Remember that there's going to be a difference between the chuta sikra. Where do you come and you're going to sprinkle the blood? Remember, there's a chatat be'ema and then there's a olat be'ema. And then there's chatat ha'of and olat ha'of. And remember that we come and we say olat ha'of lemala. Right? Ayin, ayin, ayin. Remember? So olat ha'of lemala. So chatat ha'of lemata. And the opposite. If olat ha'of is lemala, so olat be'ema is lemata, and then the chatat be'ema is lemala. Okay? So he comes and he says, v'ne'emar damim lemala. So he says, ma damim amunim lemata shenita b'matana achat b'kiper, just like the damim lemata, right? Below the chuta sikra. If you put it with one matana, it's going to be mechaper. So to the damim, which is going to be above, right? It's going to be mechaper. Right? So it is going to be mechaper as well. So therefore, you're not going to have the other matanot, which are going to be me'akev. So therefore, why did I have to say v'chiper 3 times? So he says, "Oklach lederech zo ne'emar damim b'chutz ne'emar damim b'fnim." It says damim on the chataot on the outside, and it says damim on the chataot on the inside. Just like damim ha'onim b'fnim, if you lacked one of them, lo asav lo klum, you didn't do anything. So 2 damim, which are said on the outside, if you lacked one of them, you didn't do anything. So he says, let's look who's it more compared to. Danin chutz mi b'chutz and danin chutz mi b'fnim. Or do you say danin chatat v'arba kanot mi chatat v'arba kanot, right? And therefore you're not going to come and you're not going to be mochiach, right, to do with other korbanot. Why? Because en chatat, right, only korbanot, the arba kranot. You're always going to be have the 4 kranot. So Tamulomar comes to teach you v'chiper v'chiper v'chiper, right? Mi penei adin, right? What does that mean? Let me explain. Okay, one more time. At the beginning of today's second daf, we were speaking about the entire concept of Yesh Em LaMikra and Yesh Em LaMasoret. Yesh Em LaMikra means that the only thing that we care about is the way that you read it in the Torah. Yesh Em LaMasoret means we have a Masoret that it's written differently. So therefore, since the Masoret is that you write it one way and you pronounce it a different way, we go according to the way that the Masoret is. We went and we said that we have a few different shitot, whether it's going to be Rabbi, we're going to have Rabbi Yehuda ben Roetz, we're going to have Bet Shammai, we're going to have Rabbi Shimon, and we're going to have Rabbi Akiva. All these people all hold Yesh Em LaMikra. And we brought proofs to each one and one, showing you that they hold Yesh Em LaMikra. The Gemara comes and the Gemara asks, Ma pitom? He says, are you going to tell me that that's a machloket? That Yesh Em LaMikra, Yesh Em LaMasoret? You can't say that. He says, why? I've got a pasuk. The pasuk says, Lo tavashel gedi b'chalev imo. Now, it doesn't say b'chalev imo. It says b'chalev imo, yeah, which means the chalav shel imo, right? So remember, right, that whenever you have a chet, right, instead of coming and saying, right, because ba chalev imo, the bet at the beginning, the ba should have made a dagesh chazak in the chet. The dagesh chazak in the chet, right, he cannot accept a dagesh chazak, right? So therefore, since the chet was otiyot groniyot, cannot accept a dagesh chazak, right? So therefore, there's very few exceptions to the rules. But since the otiyot groniot do not accept a dagesh chazak, So therefore, it changes the nikudot underneath it. So therefore, it becomes a chataf patach, bachalev imo, which is really chalav. It doesn't say bechelev imo, right? Because if it would have said bechelev imo, there's no dagesh at all in the chet. So it's bechelev imo. It doesn't say chelev. It says bachalev imo. We're talking about the chalav of its mother. So therefore, there, right? If you're going to tell me that it's the way that it's written chelev. What do I care how you pronounce it? It's written chelef. So I could say, so it's forced to say that I have to go the way that it's read. How do you read it? Bechalav, right? Again, chalev, just because of the way that you pronounce it. But it's really written chalav. It's not written chelef. So therefore, what happens? So therefore, from there, we learn that you're not allowed to have meat and milk. But if not, there's nowhere in the Torah. It says 3 times in the Torah, and if I'm going to tell you that it's always bechelev, so therefore today, I could come right now and have meat and milk. Have a cheeseburger. Because there's nowhere in the Torah that tells you cannot do it, but rather it's because of Yeshem la Mikra. It all depends how you read it. How do you read it? Which means the chalav. So therefore, if it's going to tell you right now, we're talking about chalav, so everybody holds of Yeshem la Mikra that it goes according to the way that we read it. So therefore, how do we answer all these other rabbis? Because remember, you had the ones that are the Rabbanan, which are arguing on Rabbi Yehuda ben Ruetz. You had the Rabbanans, which are arguing on Rabbi. You had the Bet Hillel arguing on Bet Shammai. You have the Rabbanan that argue on Rabbi Shimon. Rabbanan arguing on Rabbi Kiva. How did they learn it then? Because when you told me it's a machloket, Yeshem la Mikra, Yeshem la Soret, Chazak Baruch, I bought it. But now you're telling me everybody holds Yeshem la Mikra. So if everybody holds as well Yeshem la Mikra, so what is the shita of each one? So now we're answering that up. And the way that we answer it up is, right, one by one. So number one, Rabbi. We said that Rabbi came and there was our Mishnah. You remember we said, how do you read it? Do you read it the way that it is a Yarshiun with the Vav, right? Since you read it with the Vav, it's kilu that's the way that it's written, even though there's no Vav by Yarshiun. So he comes and he says, so what is the machloket in between them? He says Yarshiun was really be'emet because of the 2 times of Dayanim. It said Elohim, and Elohim really is singular. The way that we said before, just like one God is singular, Elohim. So too, Elohim here is singular. So you have twice Elohim, 2 times singular. So when it says Yarshiun, it just means that really be'emet, right? It's the Yarshiun belashon rabim is only because of the 2 dayanim. It's not that there's extra dayanim. There's only 2. And it says Yarshiun. So even if you're going to go according to the way that you read it, which is Yarshiun, still we're going to come and we're going to say that Yarshiun, these 2 dayanim. So why do you need 3? You only need 3 because we do not want a bedin shakul. So that's how we answered up according to the Rabbanan that argue on Rabbi, not because of Yeshem la Misoret Mikra. Nothing to do with it. Really, Be'emet Yeshem la Mikra also. Nothing to do with it. It's how do you learn up the pasuk? The Yarshiun Elokim was like an extra one. But according to the rabbis, no, Yarshiun was on the previous 2. And therefore, there's only 2 dayanim. You need a 3rd one. That's the way that we answered up the first one. Everyone here, you're clear? Yeah? Fine. Shtika keoda. Next, Rabbi Yehuda ben Ruetz. Rabbi Yehuda ben Ruetz comes and he says, that really be'emet, how do you know that it's shivu'ayim and not shivim? So if you tell me Yeshem la Mikra, the way that it's read, perfect. Chazak baruch. You read it shivu'ayim. I don't care how it's written. You read it shivu'ayim. But the rabbis, they don't argue with that. Because they also hold now Yeshem la Mikra. So then what's the pshat then? So he comes and he says, the rabbis never argue there. The rabbis also agree there. The rabbis also agreed Yeshem la Mikra. There was no argument. There was never an argument. He came and he said, no, at the beginning, you're going to learn it from a kilu that you're learning, that just like the kaful and a kaful, Yeshem la Mikra. You're right. The rabbis also agree with that. No problem. Bet Hillel. Remember Bet Hillel arguing on Bet Shammai. Remember we're talking about chatat. The chatat, you're going to sprinkle 4 times on a chatat. 4 corners. Right? Matana achat me'em me'akevet. Right? It says, there's al arba karanot. Arba matanot al arba karanot. You're doing 4 matanot on the 4 different keranot, on the 4 different corners. What happens is that Bet Hillel says that only 1 impedes, meaning that if you did 1, right, that's what we're saying over here, if you're going to come and you have to do minimum 1, as long as you did 1, it's okay. According to Bet Shammai, you need minimum 2. Why did Bet Shammai learn minimum 2? Because of Yeshem la Mikra, right? And according to Bet Hillel, we said Yeshem la Masoret. This is incorrect. There's another place. What was the other place? The other place is, it says 3 times Vechiper, Vechiper, Vechiper. Since it says Vechiper 3 different times, we're talking about that we're learning all the Arba Matanot are me'akvot et kapara, right? So he says it's going to be a kal vachomer. it says damim above and damim below. Meaning like this. We have the mizbeach. Anyone here learned kinim? Masechet kinim. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of Masechet kinim, but it's also found in all the. It's found everywhere, right? But one more time, the mizbeach. You have the mizbeach, right? 10 amot high, right? When you go 5 amot down, you're going to have what? The red line. You're going to have the chuta sikra. Chut is a line. Sikra is red in Hebrew. It's one of the forms of red, one of the shades of red. So you're going to have a red line, okay, and that's going to be one amma below, right? The middle part of the mizbeach. You have the bottom part, which is the yisod, right, and then which is the extra thing coming out. Then you have the other part going up, and then you have right below that. It's going to be one amma, and then you have up again, and then you have the kranot on the top. Okay, 10 amot in total. So what happens is that you have the chuta sikra, the red line in the middle of the mizbeach. Some korbanot you sprinkle above, and some korbanot you sprinkle below. Olat ha'of is done above. Yeah. So how do you do above? So remember, you go up halfway to the mizbeach, you go on the middle part, and then you come with the olat ha'of. You do the how do you call this? You do the melika, right? You cut off the head, and then you do the blood. Okay, so that's called olat ha'of lemala. I gave you the hint to always remember it. Olat ha'of lemala, ayin, ayin, ayin. Olat of lemala, ayin, ayin, ayin. Which means the olat ha'of, you do it above the chuta sikra. Obviously, chatat ha'of, you do it below. Because if I just told you the olah you do above, the chatat you do below. It's always opposite. The same halacha is the chatat and the olah of the behemah. Remember, you have olat and chatat behemah, and olat and chatat off. So now the behemah is always opposite the off. So if I just told you olat off lemala, chatat off lemata. If I just told you olat off lemala, so therefore olat behemah, right? Because remember, it's always going to be the opposite. So therefore, the olat behemah is lemata. So therefore, the chatat behemah is lemala. Capish? I gave you one X. Once I gave you the one X, you figured out the entire chart of the other 3, right? Because of that one X. No, I just told you there's olat behemah and chatat behemah. So therefore, one of them is below and one of them is above. So I just told you it's always opposite the olat ha'of or the chatat ha'of. If the olat ha'of lemala, olat behemah lemata. If the chatat ha'of lemata, chatat ha'of lemata. Olat of lemala, ayin, ayin, ayin. So if olat of lemala, chatat of lemata. If the chatat of lemata, chatat behemah lemala. It's always opposite. No, because which one? Again, one more time. The olat ha'of lemala. No, because the olat behemah lemata. No, I told you. I gave you the one, the ein, ein, ein. Once I give you that, you find out everything else. Of course, I just gave it to you. Do it, Kvodo. So now what happens is, now that we just explained like that, it says Ne'emar damim lemata v'ne'emar damim lemala. It says blood on the below the chuta sikra, which is going to be the korbanot olah shlamim min hasham, and you have the damim lemala, which is going to be chatot behemah, right? Because we just said that the chatat behemah is above. How do you know chatat behemah is above? Because you just told me that olat ha'of is above. So if you say olat ha'of is above, chatat behemah is above, because it's opposite by the chatat, by the behemah. So he says, ma damim amru lemata, just like the damim which is going to be below the chuta sikra. If you did matana cha kiper, so to the damim which is going to be above, it's also going to be kiper. Oklach lederech zol, go the other way around. Ne'emar damim b'chutz, it says the damim on the outside mizbeach, and it says damim on the inside mizbeach. Remember that there are 2 mizbechot: mizbeach ha'pnimi, mizbeach ha'chitzoni. Okay, mizbeach ha'nechoshet, mizbeach ha'zahav. There's many different names. So the outer one, right, is called mizbeach ha'nechoshet, or mizbeach ha'chitzon, right, or the mizbeach ha'olah, or mizbeach. The inner one is mizbeach ha'chatat, mizbeach ha'zahav, mizbeach ha'pnimi. Right? Why? Because it's the inner one. There's inside of the building, right, where you have the Hechal and everything, and the Ulam, and then you have outside. So therefore, he comes and he says, you have the inside and you have the outside. So he says, so just like the Darim Amurim Bifnim, if you do the inner one, and you didn't do one of the sprinklings, the klum. So therefore he comes and he says, so all the more so, he comes and he says, if you're going to do the outer one, right? You didn't do anything. Fine. So says the Gemara, we're going to say, what is it more compared to? We should always judge chutz to chutz, meaning chatat, which is being sprinkled outside, to the other korbanot, which are going to be sprinkled outside, and we're not going to do chutz mipnim, or the other way around. We're going to do a chatat, which always needs the 4 bekaranot from another chatat, and we're not going to bring the other korbanot, which don't need, right, the chatat, which means like this. I've got 2 ways to go. Yeah, you're not paying attention, but it doesn't matter. I'm speaking to everyone else, right? One more time, right? We have here 2 ways to go. We have chatats. Some chatats are bring on the inside, and some chatats are brought on the outside. Then you have, right, the inside and outside in general. The inside, you always need 4 matanot on the 4 kiranot. The outside, it's always going to be 2 matanot on 2 kiranot, right? Like shtaim shem arba, which means 2, which are going to become 4. But that's the way that it works. Do I judge chatat from chatat? Which means the chatat on the outside should be like the chatat on the inside, because I'm comparing chatat with chatat, and I don't care about all the other korbanot, even though it's on the outside. And therefore, just like the chatat on the inside, it has to have all the arba karanot, so to the chatat on the outside. Or do I say, I judge outside with outside, and inside with inside? So outside, this chatat, I don't care that there's another chatat on the inside, but I'm comparing the chatat on the outside to the other korbanot on the outside. So therefore, that's what we're trying to learn. Am I comparing the outside to the outside and the inside to the inside, or chatat to the chatat, and I don't care about the inside and the outside? Talmud Lomar comes to teach you, v'chiper mipnei adin. Kiper af al pi shelo natan ela shlosha. So therefore, it comes out, since it's written 3 times v'chiper, it's going to teach you that even 3 is going to be kiper af al pi shelo natan ela shtayim. So he says kiper af al pi shelo natan ela achat. So he says even if he's going to give 1. So he comes and he says, so you see from here, right, that from these psukim learns Bet Hillel, that also the chataot, which are going to be outside, if you only gave 1, it's going to be enough. Nothing to the Yeshem Lamasoret. Remember, beforehand we wanted to say that it's Yeshem Lamasoret, Yeshem Lamikra, nothing to do with it. Okay? Next, Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan. Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan hold. Behapli give this a machlok between them. Shimon Savar Sechacha Lo Ba'ekra. Remember that Rabbi Shimon Rabbanan, there was a machlok at how many walls do you need in the sukkah? Do you need 3 and then 1 tefach, or 2 and 1 tefach? So the machlok has nothing to do with Yeshem and Mikra, Yeshem and Soret. Rabbi Shimon Savar Sechacha Lo Ba'ekra. The sechach doesn't even in pasuk. And Rabbanan hold Sechacha Ba'e, right? Kra. You do need the pasuk, and therefore, since you do need a pasuk, so according to that, if you hold that you need a pasuk, so therefore, right? If you hold that you don't need a pasuk, sorry, so then you have the 3, and then you have the one tefach. If you hold that he doesn't need a pasuk, so it's going to be 2 and the 1 tefach. Rabbi Akiva Rabbanan. What was the machlok between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan? You remember the revit of the dam that was mixed up between 2 different deceased peoples. So behapli Rabbi Akiva Savar and Rabbi Akiva holds nafshot tarte mashma, that it's mashma 2 nefashot. Rabbanan Savar and Rabbanan hold nafshot de alma de mashma. It's mashma de alma. The kule alma, according to everybody, Yeshem Lamikra. So says the Gemara now we're going to flip everything. Are you going to tell me according to everybody we do hold Yeshem Lamikra? That time we learned in the Braita letotafot. It says 3 times totafot, right? Tatpat, but then one of them is written with the vav. So what does that mean exactly? Harekan arba. You have 4, right? One more time. The first one, it says tatpat, and then you have totafot with 2 vavs. The first 2 times, it's written without it. Yeah? The second time, the third time, it's written with the vavs. Harekan arba. So it comes out that it's 4. But tatpat, 1, and totafot is with 2 vavs. So it's 2. So he comes and he says, these are the words of Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva comes and he says, "Eno tzarich." You don't need to make this drasha. Tat bekatve shtaim. Pat beafrike is shtaim. Remember, tat in the language called katpe already means 2, and pat in Afrike already means 2. So therefore, how does Rav Bar Yaakov say that everybody holds Yeshem Mikra? It's not true. Yeah, but this is how we learn, by the way, that the tefillin shalosh should have 4 heads, 4 compartments, right? Because you're learning 4 times the totafot. So it says, Ela lolam pliga, really be'emet. No, we do go back to, there is a machloka between them. Vehani mile pliga. When is the machloka? Reicha deshani kra mimasoret. When the kra is different from the masoret. Aval hai, but here, chalev v'chelev d'chiyadadininu, since the way that you write it, it's the exact same thing, Yeshem lamikra. Meaning, even if you're going to tell me that there is a machloket, Yeshem lamikra, Yeshem masoret, here, chalav and chelev, it's the exact same word, just pronounced differently. And since it's the exact same word, pronounced differently, we have to go by Yeshem Lamikra. Vare, ask the Gemara, Yiren Yiraeh. It says, בשנה, 3 פעמים בשנה יראה כל זכורך פני אדון, השם אלוקי ישראל, יראה or יראה. They're also, it says the same thing. You have yir'ah and yir'ah. Just one of them is yir'eh and one of them is yira'eh. And it means two completely different things. Upligen, there's a machlok between them. The Tanya was we learned in the Braita. Yochanan ben Davai omer mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Yochanan ben Davai comes and says the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. Hasuma be'acham me'enav patur min ha'reiyah. Somebody that's blind in one of his eyes is patur from korban reiyah. Why? Because it says the pasuk yir'eh. But now the mashmaut is that he has to see the Pnei Shechina. But the way that we read it is, right? Shalosh pa'amim shana yera'eh. We don't say yir'eh. We read it yera'eh. Kederech sheba lir'ot, kach ba lira'ot. Just like he comes to see, so he's coming to be seen. So ma lir'ot, just like when he comes to see, it has to be with two eyes. So to lira'ot, in order to bring the korban olah, it has to be wished enough with two eyes. So it comes out that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Davai, you see that somebody that's going to be blind in one eye, he's patur from the mitzvah reiyah. He doesn't have to bring the korban reiyah. So answers the Gemara, the pasuk says, "Lo tavashel gedi derech bishul asrat Torah." The Torah was oser derech bishul, something that you could cook with the meat. Now you cannot cook right with meat other than something which is going to be a liquid, not fats. You can't take meat and put the fats of the meat in it and just put it to cook. It'll burn, right? It'll burn. So therefore, what do you need? You need a liquid. How do you have a liquid? A liquid is a milk. Milk is a liquid. The fats is not a liquid. The fats is fat. If you're going to come and you're going to put, you could fry, you could either fry if you put also, again, you need a liquid, you need an oil, right? But cooking, you cannot cook without a liquid. Liquid means cooking, right? Whenever you're cooking, it means a liquid. So therefore, what is the cooking? So he comes and he says, but mine is that's not cooking. He said, that it cannot be mine. It has to be with what we're talking about here. So it cannot be chelev. So it has to be a liquid, which is chalav, which you could actually cook. So obviously, we're talking about you're cooking a liquid in a solid, and we're not talking about that you're adding water, because nobody's talking about adding water. So therefore, if you're saying lo tavashel gedi b'chalev imo, we're talking about you're not allowed to, obviously means the chalav. And therefore, obviously, that's what the Torah actually meant. Have a wonderful day.